Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Devin with Jurassic Magic, and in today's video, I will be ranking all 5 of the precons from the Tarkir Dragonstorm and which one you potentially want to buy for yourself. This is obviously not financial advice. This is just me analyzing the decks and seeing which ones are the best bang for their buck and seeing which ones are very powerful out of the box. And if you do enjoy this content and want to support the channel even further, consider joining my Patreon as there's a lot of great benefits. I just reorganize a lot of different benefits on there, so definitely go check it out for yourself. And the Discord is also talking about a lot of these different spoilers, so if you want to join a great community and talk about these great cards, definitely go check it out. Also, if you plan on buying any of these precons, make sure to use my TCG player affiliate link down below in the description. All you have to do is click on it, go to the website, and that's all you really have to do by supporting the channel. And so now with that said, let's get back into the precons and talk about them. And just to kind of give you my overall consensus of these decks is they look absolutely fun to play. I'm very excited to try out each one of these. I actually pre-ordered all 5 of these. But in today's video and in these rankings, these are based off of my evaluation of the prices of the deck, based off of the value of what's inside, also discussing some of the power levels and the synergies in the deck, and many more. And so I'll be going from order 5 to 1, and so let's get it started. So at number 5, the one that I want to focus on first is Jeskai Striker, and look, I know this is a pretty good deck. Shiko and Narset Unified are a pretty good commander, and the secondary commander Elsha is pretty good too. Overlooking the deck, and obviously this is based off of prices today and not what it is in the future because a lot of these prices can be different, but in total this has $194 worth of value, and it's all based off a TCG player. And I feel like this deck is going in a couple different directions. Obviously the main theme is casting spells so that you can copy spells, or you cast spells to get some sort of value, which honestly is great at theory, but when I look at the deck, there are a decent amount of card draw options, but not enough in my opinion. When you're casting a lot of spells like cantrips or whatever, you can draw potentially into another card, but if it's just a land, well, you're not going to get that value of casting another spell with Shiko and Narset copying it. And I feel like you could really run out of steam very quickly in this type of deck where you want to go through your deck, churn through it, play a lot of different things, but once you draw into something you don't necessarily like, well, you're just going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs. Again, I do believe this is a good deck. I don't believe it's better than the other 4. Some of the top reprints are like Lair, Disciple of the Drowned, Ghostly Prison, Veyran, Voice of Duality, and Monastery Mentor. And I feel like already these cards have been reprinted a couple times, so their value already has dropped quite a bit. And this deck as a whole actually has the least reprint value and total value compared to the other ones. So for me, I had to rank this at number 5. And let's move on to the next deck, Abzan Armor. I personally have, even though again, it's a very good deck. I actually really enjoy the deck and how it operates with the walls, but I feel like the value isn't there completely. Typically wall reprints are pretty cheap because they're mostly just draft chaffed. There are some decent reprints in this deck like Tree of Redemption, Dragonlord Dramoka, Towering Titan, Shalai Voice of the Plenty. And another thing to consider, this kind of falls into niche territory where it's focusing on a toughness matters with walls and etc, especially with the commander Felithar the Steadfast being the face commander, or even Betar going into a life lost, life gain theme. I think that one's actually pretty unique design itself, but it doesn't have the supporting strategy compared to the wall strategy in this deck. And the wall strategy can be pretty aggressive, not gonna lie. But again, I feel like the nicheness of this deck puts it at number 4 for me personally. But let's move on to the next precon, and this one is one that I was hoping was going to be a lot better, and that's Temur Roar. Don't get me wrong, I feel like there's a lot of great reprints in this deck. Dragon Tempest is one, an uncommon that's surprisingly always like around $7 to $10. Elemental Bond, which is around $5. Temur Ascendancy, which is around $7 surprisingly. Nogi Draco Zealot is probably one that's more due to scarcity, that's why it's probably around that $28 mark. And of course Hellkite Courser is another great one in the deck. Putting your commander directly on the battlefield, getting that ETB and haste to swing in right away can get double value for yourself. But the one thing that I found when upgrading this deck is the fact that there is 34 creatures and a lot of them are dragons that are high CMC. There is ramp in the deck, but I believe that there's not enough ramp in the deck. This deck can be a little clunky as far as getting your big dragons out. Again, I wish this was higher, but again, looking at the deck list, there's a lot of red pips and not enough ramp or even really protection for your creatures. That's why I have it at number 3. But now I wanted to shift my focus to my number 2 spot, and that's the Mardu Surge deck, and this one surprised me and took me off guard. This is actually a deck I want to actually get for myself because of a lot of the good reprints mixed in with a lot of the different aristocrats slash token aggressive strategy strategy. There are some great reprints like Adeline Resplendent Cathar. This has been pretty expensive in recent past, but now has gone down a little bit here and there. Another great reprint was Divine Visitation. All your tokens, instead of being 1/1 Warriors tokens, are going to be 4/4 White Angel creature tokens with Flying and Vigilance. Gix Yawgmoth Praetor is also a great card draw engine, especially when we want to deal a lot of combat damage with our 1/1s. Some of them will go through and we could get card advantage, all at the expense of losing life. This can be a little political because your opponents can swing at each other and get card advantage, but again, if they don't swing at you, they won't get card advantage, so this is more of a benefit for you anyways. And I feel like overall, compared to all the other precons, this one was the hardest to upgrade because I feel like a lot of the reprints in this deck were really good, and the deck kind of functions cohesively together, especially compared to the other three. But since I mentioned number 2, you probably already know what number 1 is, and of course that's Sultai Arisen. This one is one incredible deck, and I love the reprints. I love how cohesive it is. Obviously it's focusing on a graveyard strategy, and I feel like compared to all the other decks, maybe besides the Mardu deck, the ideas are not really clashing together. For example, the Jeskai deck was focusing on going wide with a lot of tokens, casting a lot of spells. On the flip side, it was also focusing on doubling spells. It felt very incohesive. The same can be applied for the Abzan deck. It wanted to focus on a wall strategy with a toughness matters, along with going with a life loss, life gain strategy. This one, I believe, is a good mix of just focusing on graveyards and a little bit of a landfall, which landfall I feel like is very easy to do in Commander because all you're really doing is just playing lands. There are some really good reprints in this deck. Just to name a few, Ob Nixilis the Fallen, which I'm surprised hasn't got a reprint yet. Lord of Extinction, which is around $7. Dothi Voidwalker, even though it doesn't necessarily gel with the deck, I still think it's a pretty good card and a pretty good reprint. Also was surprised that Hedron Crab was like around $8. Life from the Loam is also another really good reprint. It's around that $8.50 range, which I'm glad they got reprinted because it's a very good card. So with the reprints and the synergies behind all the decks, that's why I do believe the Sultai Arisen is probably the best bang for your buck. Obviously go with the one that you want to go with. However, that is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video on ranking all the precons from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Obviously this is all opinion based. Let me know down below in the comments, what is your opinion about these precons? Which ones do you like more than the others? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, you may have noticed that I didn't talk about some of the new cards and the commanders of the deck in this video, at least. I did make precon upgrades for each precon in the past couple weeks, so if you want to go check them out, I posted a link on each of them on this video specifically, talking about some of the good cards in the deck, also some of the cuts that I would take out and replace them with. So if you haven't checked out those videos already, definitely go check them out. Also in the future, I will be ranking my top 10 commanders of the entire set. This list will comprise of the commanders from the precons along with the ones in the main standard set, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Stay tuned by sharing, and subscribing, and with that out of the way, thank you for stomping by.